Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lost Legend TV. I'm Ray, and today we got another horror movie review. Love doing these things. As you know, I am an avid Tubi TV watcher. Out of all the streaming services I spend my fucking money on, for some reason I go to Tubi the most, which is free, and I don't know why. Something just drags me to Tubi. But I came across this film called The Hoarder. And as you've seen the title and the thumbnail, we're gonna break this baby down. This movie falls into the category most movies that I watch on Tubi fall in. It has great cinematography, it has great bones, a solid storyline, but a horrible execution. The movie starts out with two females, one is named Molly, one is named Ella. The main character, Ella, is very suspicious of her fiance, and she talks her best friend Molly into going to his storage unit to snoop around and see what he's hiding. Now, what can he be hiding in the storage room? I don't know. Theoretically speaking, I just don't think if he was messing around on her, the storage unit would be the place to go. I mean, maybe he keeps some weird ass trophies, if you know what I mean, in there. But, I mean, even at that, most of the time there'll be trophies from the past. But anyway, that's a whole nother tangent in itself. And I will say this movie here wastes absolutely no time getting into the action, which kind of caught me by surprise, and I liked it. But before we jump into the first death of the movie, I gotta say that in the beginning, with the dialogue between Ella and Molly in this movie, which is not the main character, did a phenomenal job of keeping the story going. She by herself kept things moving. I liked her demeanor, I liked her vibe. But compared to your lead character, the final girl, Ella, it's just like day and night. Ella just has like bare minimum dialogue, and Molly's just moving this fucking thing along. So she gets props from me immediately. But they do go through the storage unit, and Molly dies immediately, which I think was a really ballsy move. But like I said, it again caught me off guard, so I really didn't mind it. I like being caught off guard. I don't like predictability in movies. The writing in this movie isn't that bad. Her fiance has this storage unit on the 4th floor, and evidently you have to have a key because I guess you gotta be fucking VIP to get down there. But if you see the thumbnail of the movie, you see this character named Jeffrey. And this is a big spoiler already, but I won't go into the big spoiler until the end. Molly gets killed by Jeffrey immediately once they open the door of the storage unit. So Ella naturally runs for her life, and I really dig the music in this film. Especially during the chase scenes, you really get that it's almost identical music to like the first 2 Scream movies. I legit had to go listen to the Scream theme to make sure they didn't rip it off. It's close, it's damn close, but it really gave you that nice vintage slasher vibe for a second. So Molly is running away from Jeffrey, the killer, and Jeffrey is like an inhuman monster. He moves weird, he has his lips sewed up shut. You can tell that shit's going down. She escapes through the elevator through a narrow escape from Jeffrey, and then we are introduced to all these other characters. We are introduced to this cop named Vince, and Vince was doing some shady shit from the beginning. You can just tell something's off. He is not a good guy. He's either hiding something, he's a bad cop, he's in on it, you just don't know what it is. He goes down there and investigates Ella's claims, but he can't even get into the door because it's locked. But he goes back upstairs and says, hey, everything's fine, I didn't see anything, maybe you're just fucking crazy. We're then introduced to more people in the movie who is at these storage units. You have this couple named Brad and Sarah. You have Wayne, which is this stoner guy who works there. You got Steven, who runs the front desk that you saw earlier. Got this girl named Willow, and she's basically a addict. You have Rashid, you have Ian, and of course they get picked off one by one. Now what's cool about this is that it's closing time, one last call for alcohol. But no, it's closing time, and all the lights are now on a timer. So every so often the lights would go off and they have to manually go over there and turn them back on, which creates this really cool aesthetic for the movie. This film also does a good job of blink and you miss it kind of moments. Like the couple in there, they set the quick tone of they're getting divorced, she's in there trying to find her fucking shoes. He goes out, he's tired of her fucking mouth, tired of her bullshit. And you see little things like the background, like she has this little angel ornament that's sitting on one of her boxes, and she walks away and she walks back, and then the angel ornament is outside on the ground and she doesn't notice it at first, and then boom, she gets snagged. Once Brad walks in, Sarah's gone, you see one of her shoes on the ground. He doesn't notice it at first, but you can see it in the background very subtly. It's things like that that gets points for me. Coming from a cinematographer myself and a filmmaker myself, it's these little things I really enjoy. It shows that you really care about your craft and you really care about doing your job and trying to make the best product possible. So let's take a step back for a second. Here's what the movie does wrong. When it comes to kills in this movie, there is absolutely almost zero visuals on any of the kills. Molly got her throat slit, and you see that for a brief second, and she gets dragged into the other room. You don't see Sarah get snatched or get killed. That's basically off camera. There's a really cool sequence in this movie. Willow, the addict, is smoking a cigarette, and she sets the fire alarm off, and the sprinklers come on, so everything's wet, everything's blinking red. The monster's coming in and out after them. The doors are closing. They're trapped. It's a really cool sequence, but it doesn't pay off whatsoever. Speaking of Rashid, which find out who lives in his storage unit, they all get weapons and he has a skill saw as a weapon, a portable skill saw. I was like, okay, go kick some fucking ass, Rashid. But they get separated and the doors come down and he gets separated from the group and they hear him scream. He gets punched and his body goes flying against the fire emergency door. However, you don't see the punch. He just kind of lands there. And then you get another split second. I mean, if you was to blink twice, you wouldn't even see it. Of that skill saw going into his face. Now, I'm not saying you need outlandish kills or anything, but I feel like in a horror movie, visuals are important. One thing you have established in this movie is that you can do it. The cinematography is there. The visual specs are in your reach. I don't know if they had to cut these kills because they couldn't get the rating they want, but I mean, the biggest letdown of this movie is that you have these awesome shot scenes, you have these awesome sequences, you paint this beautiful picture of it, everything's so low lit and so cinematic, and then you tease the audience with these kills, but you just don't get anything. I was like, dude, this is the third kill of the movie and we haven't seen jack shit. We find out that the cop Vince has a storage unit there, which he has a backpack full of money. And it's at that point, everybody starts turning at each other because they no longer trust him and they don't trust each other. So they separate. And I feel like this is where the movie falls apart in this exact moment. Willow, the addict, knowing that everything's going on, there's a killer out there, everybody's being picked off one by one. She's like, hey, I gotta go to my storage room down here to get my insulin. It's better if I go alone. I'm just like, God damn. Like, why would you do that?
Stop it. Get some help.
I mean, I get why you're doing it. You're trying to hide the fact that you need your fucking fix. But at this point, I just call this bad writing. And the acting is, she's probably my least favorite in this movie, honestly. Vince the cop is trying to make his way out by himself, and he gets killed in a very anticlimactic way. Just another wasted screen time kill that just had no visuals whatsoever. The only thing you get is a little bit of blood. The action of the kill happening, boom. At this point, I just kind of wanted the movie to go off. But the one thing that helped me on is the whodunit factor and why is Jeffrey after them, the motive and things like that. I was willing to hang on. And then we find out that Steven, the front desk clerk, is the killer. And one of the most confusing things in this movie that we find out is, for one, Steven drags bodies down there, sews his mouth shut, and I guess he is just mentally fucked in the head because he's keeping them down there and he's giving the spiel about, oh, you're gonna like it down here. You have to let go of these things that you're hoarding mentally and physically. You're gonna like it down here. He's basically treating them like his fucking pets. And Jeffrey is one of them. Now, there's this big chase scene, of course, between the final girl, Ella, and Steven. And Jeffrey helps her get away. And Steven kills him in the process. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I legit rewound the movie to the very beginning and made sure that it was Jeffrey who killed Molly. And it was. It was Jeffrey who chased Ella down, not to help her, but to kill her. That was Jeffrey. So it just made no fucking sense why Jeffrey would just have this sudden change of heart and try to let Ella go. Big disappointment there. Ella escapes Steven, and one thing I forgot to mention is that Ella is after this diary, and she just really fucking cares about this diary. After their chase scene, there's another chase scene where Ella finds this like storm drain, like this big ass ladder in this tunnel, and this almost made me rage. She has a clear head start away from Steven. She climbs this big ladder, lifts up the storm drain, she drops the diary down in the crevice, drops it down. She was scot-free. She was ready to go. She could have ran out in the fucking parking lot. Game over. You're set. You had it done. But this ignorant woman had the audacity to open that shit back up and reach for the diary. And that's when Stephen Hand comes up and grabs her. Fuck that diary. There is nothing in that fucking little ass diary that's this big that you're gonna need that is worth risking your life to go back in there when the guy who's chasing you is just a few steps away. Fuck, man. The movie then cuts to a few weeks later where we see that Ella is now one of the victims. She's tied up, she has her mouth sewn shut, and her fiance finally walks in to check on his storage room. But he never goes down there. He's sitting there talking to the killer, Steven. On the surface, Steven is just this regular guy at a desk, doing his thing, doing his job. And he has this big epiphany like she just disappeared, but I just can't let go. But you know what? Sometimes you just gotta let things go. You can't hoard all these things inside. And he's just like, fuck it, man. Just sell everything in there. I don't need it. Thanks for the talk, bro. I'm dipping. I'm out of here. And then we see Ella, and then we see doors upon doors that contain victims of the same vein. If I had to rate this movie, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I wish I could give it a 5, but the first half is definitely stronger than the second half. I was really intrigued the first half, I really was. I wanted to know why Jeffrey became the way he did, what was gonna happen to all the victims, Ella, the cop. Even if this movie didn't have extravagant kills, right? If you could write me a good story and a good ending, that's something I can probably overlook. However, you just kind of retconned everything that you was leading up towards. Great cinematography, good story, no visual kills, and honestly, I'm not even mad that Steven turned out to be the killer. I mean, this GTA 5 Lester looking motherfucker right here looks like he's into some deep shit, mentally. But the one thing that got me was Jeffrey. Like, your whole selling point of this movie, the cover of your movie, is Jeffrey the Monster. You had him kill Molly within the first 15 minutes and really set the scene. He was chasing Ella down to kill her, and he's not seen again except for small moments in the film, and then he just had a change of heart like, go girl, get the fuck out of here. It doesn't make any sense. You don't do that. It could have been way better. I just think it's right below average. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10. It's not all bad. They're all good things. Thank you guys so much for taking part of your day to kick it with me. I really do appreciate it. I love all you guys, and until next time, adios.